Welcome back, boys. Calories in, calories out. That's what I want to fucking talk about in this video. How this phrase, this concept is overplayed, overrated, overused, a little bit bullshit. That's what we're going to be talking about. I'm a little bit out of breath because I just finished my first workout for the day, frying my lunch in the pan right now, and then we're heading into the second workout. So I'm not all there, but I think I'm there enough to talk about this topic. I've been away for a while, a couple of weeks, but I did announce that I was going to talk about this before I went away, and I did want to record this video before I went away. So this is the first thing we're jumping into now that I'm back. For the sake of completeness, let's briefly touch on what calories in, calories out actually is, what that means. I assume most people already know, but for the 3 or 4 people who don't, calories in, calories out is the idea, the concept that the amount of calories that go into your body and the amount of calories that go out of your body, the amount of calories that are burned in some way, shape, or form, determine what happens to your body weight. So let's say you're 80 kilograms and you consume a certain amount of calories through the things you eat and drink, and then you expend a certain amount of calories through the base functions of your body, right? The muscle mass you have, the organ functions of your body, and then also through activities throughout the day, things like training, but also other stuff you do throughout the day, walking somewhere, picking something up off your desk. Everything you do, there's some kind of calorie expenditure involved. And if you look at the amount of calories you take in and the amount of calories that go out of your body, if the amount of calories that go in is greater than the amount of calories being burned, your weight will slowly increase, so you will move up from 80 kilograms. If the amount of calories going in is smaller than the amount of calories going out, so if you're eating less calories than you're burning, your weight will move down. You will go down from 80 kilograms. And if they are exactly the same, then you will stay at 80 kilograms. Now, fundamentally, there's nothing wrong with this theoretical concept. And I think it's an important concept to be aware of, even though once you are aware of this concept, it seems very obvious, very sort of, well, yeah, of course, the amount of calories you take in and the amount of calories you burn will determine what happens to your weight. That, it seems rather intuitive. But I do think it's important for people to learn this, to be aware of this, to have this in mind as they go through their training journey. However, and this is where we get into what I actually want to talk about in this video, the concept of calories in, calories out has sort of ballooned into this whole weight gain, weight loss mentality, this whole philosophy of how you go about gaining or losing weight that I have a pretty big issue with, because I think it's a very bad way of going about changing your weight, and I'm going to explain to you why right now. See, people have gone from using this concept as a sort of basis for, let's say, their weight loss journey, okay, saying, okay, fundamentally, this is a question of calories. There's other strategies, right? Other things I can look at to make my weight loss journey easier or harder. But the sort of baseline, the fundamental thing I have to look at is how many calories am I eating and what am I actually burning throughout the day. People have gone from this sort of mentality all the way to the complete extreme of it doesn't fucking matter what I do. It doesn't fucking matter what I eat. Essentially, everything, anything and everything is irrelevant except the amount of calories I'm taking in and the amount of calories I'm burning. Everything else doesn't matter. This is the determining factor for whether or not I'm going to gain or lose weight. Now, to an extent, that is true. However, there are a lot of issues that come with this sort of mentality, because what it encourages is, number one, not doing a lot of cardio to burn calories, because I'm going to be completely honest, cardio doesn't actually burn a ton of calories compared to how much calories food contains. Okay, 30 minutes of cardio doesn't actually burn a shit ton of calories. It's much easier to reduce the amount of calories you eat than to increase the amount of calories you burn. So number one, if you're only looking at calories in, calories out, and what the result of that comparison is, you're not really encouraged to do a lot of cardio. You're not really encouraged to work on your fitness. It's much easier to eat less than it is to train more. Number one. Number two, if all that matters is the amount of calories you're eating and the amount of calories you're burning, it doesn't actually matter what those calories are made up of. Okay? So the actual composition of your food, basically irrelevant, right? Because the only thing that matters is the amount of calories going in and the amount of calories going out. Now, of course, anyone with a rudimentary understanding of the human body knows that this is complete fucking nonsense. If we're trying to be fit, athletic, healthy, this doesn't make any sense. But if we're only looking at calories in, calories out, then, I mean, of course, if you're only eating 1,000 calories, why not eat 1,000 calories of fucking gummy bears? It doesn't matter, right? It's still just 1,000 calories. There are some problems with this, though. And I kind of briefly touched on this topic in the James Smith video because it fit quite well into the whole question of TRT and hormone levels and how seriously do you take your fitness over extended periods of time. See, the thing is, if you only look at one or two isolated markers of fitness, quote unquote, like how shredded am I, you're going to develop a very one-dimensional approach to making sure those markers are where you want them to be. Like if you only care about being shredded, you might say, it doesn't matter what I eat. You can have some sugary stuff here and there, right? You can have some fast food. You can have some industrial bullshit. It doesn't matter, enjoy yourself, live a little. As long as you stay low on the calories, that's going to be fine. Here's the thing, though. Those things are still bad for your body. They still contain fucking garbage. And as I mentioned in that James Smith video, they also don't contain micronutrients that your body might want to have. So processed food, while on the sort of surface, providing perhaps the same amount of calories as something else that is made of whole foods, that is high quality, that is just healthier ingredients, while on the surface, this processed junk you're eating might have the same amount of calories, and we can even go a step further. Maybe it even has more or less the same macros. While that might be the case, it's still not great for your body. But you're not going to notice that in the short term. Long term, however, if you hit your calories, if you hit your macros for 10 years straight, eating complete fucking garbage, sooner or later, some part of your body's system is gonna tank the hit. Okay? Your organ functions might slow down, your hormone levels might start being a little bit out of whack. This also depends on other health factors, right? Things like sleep. When are you eating, right? If calories in, calories out is the only thing that matters, it doesn't matter when you eat in the day, right? How you split up your meals, as long as you manage to eat the calories you have to eat, that's the only thing that matters. The fact that eating at certain times throughout the day actually encourages high quality sleep or enhances your training performance, that whole idea is left out of the equation. Basically, you can look at it like this. Calories in, calories out is true if you take a sort of snapshot in time. If you look at one day, or maybe a couple of days, a week, yeah, sure, it's true. But the type of calories you are consuming, what food you are eating, whether you're just eating a very low amount of calories or you're eating a decent amount of calories and also burning a decent amount of calories. All of these other factors that are not really part of the calories in, calories out concept, of the calories in, calories out equation, factor into how your body develops. Maybe they are not immediately going to have an impact on your weight. Again, if we just look at this snapshot in time, if we just look at a day, a couple of days. But if we look at years, a decade, this shit is going to catch up to you. And the fact of the matter is, if you develop if you develop insulin resistance, if you develop fucking diabetes, whatever the fuck, okay, because of the shit you're eating, if your organs develop issues because you're not sleeping enough, or because, again, you're eating garbage, or you run into trouble because you're just eating very little in general, because, again, calories in, calories out, if that's the only thing that matters, then you can just eat very little calories instead of eating maybe on the lower side and then doing some cardio to burn off some additional calories. All of these things, sooner or later, are going to have you running into health problems, into physiological problems that will impact your ability to gain or lose weight. So even though, when looking at a day, a couple of days, a week, at this snapshot in time, as I called it, even though if we just look at that, calories in, calories out, is legit. Yes, it's a theoretical concept that is true, that makes sense, I would say, as a very isolated, very, theoretical, very abstract concept. Yes, it makes sense. This is not a legitimate approach to fitness and to weight loss or weight gain. It is a foundational concept that you should be aware of, that you should understand, but you should also understand that completely just not giving a fuck about what you eat to get your calories in, completely not giving a fuck about whether you're eating less calories or burning more, completely not giving a fuck about other factors like sleep, for example, like the way your day is structured, how much you work out, when you work out, etc., blah, 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 stress. All of these things, they have nothing to do with calories. At least, maybe indirectly, because you're using or not using calories depending on what you're doing. But all of these things on their own, they don't really have anything to do with calories in, calories out. But they are going to have an impact on your health, on your well-being, on your fitness, on your body's ability to burn calories, to put on muscle, on your hormone levels, again. So, again, understand calories in, calories out. understand that this is a concept, that this is a model, okay? It's a theoretical construct. Understand that it is true, but only in a certain context, to a certain degree, and understand that if you take calories in, calories out as an approach to fitness and losing weight, for example, you're going to run into some issues down the road. And those issues are going to make it harder to gain or lose weight. And at that point, if we look at a long enough time frame, calories in, calories out will no longer be true. Because someone who has kept their physical health and fitness at a very, very impressive level by training consistently, sleeping well, eating well, not just looking at the amount of calories they are eating or maybe at the general macros they are eating, but actually eating quality food, whole foods, eating a nice animal-based diet like I do. This person will be much more capable of losing and gaining weight the way they want to in 10 years still than you will if all you look at is the calorie sum at the end of the day. And now some people might actually consider me a bit of an idiot for making this video because they might say, well, that's fucking obvious. I don't actually think it is. I think a lot of people who talk about calories in, calories out all the time, who use this phrase all the time, are actually aware of what I'm talking about here. Maybe not necessarily to the extent that I've talked about it in this video, but I think generally they are aware that, yes, of course, if you eat fucking 2,000 calories of gummy bears every day, it's going to be a little bit of a different thing than eating 2,000 calories of like balanced meals, even if those meals aren't the healthiest thing in the world. But I do see a lot of people encouraging a sort of half-assed approach to nutrition, a sort of half-assed approach to health and fitness. People like James Smith, people like my favorite object of hate and ridicule, Mr. Michael Israetel. I'm sorry, doctor. Let's not, let's give him the respect he deserves. These guys, I've heard them talk about, some sweets here and there are fine, some blah, 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 some this, some that is fine. I've heard them talk about that shit in copious amounts of videos. And the problem is, people see this type of shit. People see the things they say about calories in, calories out, and someone who is not very well versed when it comes to nutrition, when it comes to health, fitness, the way the human body works, might think, I'm just going to more or less eat what the fuck I want to, train like a little bit maybe to build a little bit of muscle, basically just eat garbage and make sure I don't eat a ton of garbage so I stay kind of shredded, kind of lean, so I can, pick up girls at the beach or whatever the fuck. And look, if you're like a 16, 17-year-old, I don't blame you. That's the shit that would probably go through my head if I saw this type of content. But that's the problem. The problem is not that everyone who talks about calories in, calories out doesn't understand what I'm saying in this video. The problem is that they are presenting calories in, calories out as the holy grail of weight loss / weight gain. And that's just a little bit disingenuous. Because the truth is, again, yes, if you look at a short period of time, this may be accurate, but there are a lot more things that go into losing or gaining the weight you want to lose or gain. And even if you know that as the person talking about calories in, calories out, even if you are aware of this fact, presenting this idea of calories in, calories out as the end all be all And then also having videos where you talk about, oh, it's fine to have some burgers on the side. It's fine to have some donuts. It's fine to drink some soda, whatever the fuck, right? The combination of those two types of content is going to create fitness newbies who think that the amount of calories they eat is the only thing that matters. I mean, consider the fact that depending on the type of calories you're eating, okay, whether we're talking about carbs or fat or protein, what type of carbs or fat or protein, what other substances are in there, if it's a food that's very sour, for example, if it's a food that's very salty, consider the fact that the amount of calories you're eating is not even necessarily equivalent to the amount of calories you're actually digesting and taking into your system. Like if you sit down and usually you eat a pretty standard Western diet, maybe slightly on the healthier side, but sort of a very regular Western diet. High carbs, moderate amount of protein, moderate amount of fat. And you sit down and you eat 2 fucking bars of butter. That's going to be a crazy amount of calories. You think those calories are actually going into your system just because you ate them? Of course not. You're going to shit like 60%, 70% of those calories out again. You're going to be head into the fucking bucket and you're going to be shitting water. So how many of those calories actually went into your system? Who fucking knows, right? I think I've gotten my general point across. Let's sort of summarize this whole thing as calories in, calories out, important theoretical concept, okay, in isolation, in abstraction, to know about, to understand, to be aware of. It is a foundational idea, a foundational model that you should understand, but it's also very important to understand its shortcomings. It is also very important to understand that this is not a blanket statement, that this doesn't just apply to anything and everything, okay? This is a very specific concept. There are very specific issues with this concept when applied to reality, especially if we look at not just a couple of days, but we look at the midterm, the long term, okay? And understanding that, yes, as I plan my nutrition for the day, the week, stuff like that, this is something I need to keep in mind, but it doesn't eliminate all the other things I should be keeping in mind. Now, if you are someone who's interested in gaining or losing weight, and in general, being fit, being healthy, being capable, and now listening to this video, you're thinking to yourself, okay, so there's all these things to keep in mind. How do I keep track of them? What are all the things that I have to keep an eye out for? Like, I'm feeling a little bit overwhelmed here. You can go ahead and check out the Primal Physique course down below. It's a course I created like 2 or 3 months ago. Very comprehensive. It's basically geared towards people who want to get into a well-rounded athletic shape. It's going to build a body that is strong, that has good endurance, mobility, that is just all around athletic and capable. Not just big and bulky, not skinny fucking pretzel sticks, but can run 50 miles. You're going to have the whole package. You're going to be a fucking beast, a savage, a barbarian. And as you might have already guessed, the course contains a pretty substantial section on diet, on how to construct your diet in the first place, on how to progress through your diet as you try to lose or gain weight. There's also an example diet plan included as well, so you don't just have to listen to what I have to say and then you're kind of left to your own devices. There's essentially a template that you can look at, and based on that, you can design your own diet step by step. So if that's something you're interested in addition to all the other great stuff that's included, workout programs, information on training variations, all that good stuff, go ahead, check out the course down below. And I think I'm going to leave it at that. If you enjoyed yourself, if you learned something, gleaned some value from this video, go ahead and leave a like down below. I'm actually getting pretty fucking hungry right now. Looking forward to that meal I've got in the pan. And yeah, I'm also going to be doing a second workout later. I just finished the first, doing a second one later on, doing a kind of strength and conditioning type of workout at the moment, a little bit more strength endurance focused, because I'm going to be picking up Muay Thai next week, getting back into striking, which I haven't done in a pretty long time, and I want to be in good shape for that. So right now we're doing a little bit more cardio and a little bit more strength endurance type stuff. If you want to see more videos of mine in the future, go ahead and subscribe. I make content like this on more general health topics, nutrition, sleep, that type of stuff. But I also make a lot of content on training specifically, and now and then I will drop a video on philosophical stuff. So if you're interested in that array of topics, in that range of topics, go ahead, subscribe, and activate the notification bell, as always, if you want notifications. Go ahead, check out the course down below. You can also hit me up on Instagram or on Coffee, where the course is. If you're interested in a more personal approach, if you want some personal coaching, or you're interested in a personalized training program, just hit me up. We can talk details over there. And yeah, I think that's going to be it. I'll see you guys in the next video, which is not going to be 4 weeks from now. It's going to be very soon. I've got a lot of video ideas that have sort of been piling up as I was busy with other stuff. So I've really been looking forward to getting back into recording shit. And I hope you guys are looking forward to seeing what I've got in store. See you guys in the next one. Go check out the course. And yeah, that's it. Have a good one.